Yo, 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 what's up in the house? Today it's the Decimal Diva here coming with you with solving equations with decimals. Let's take a look. Let's get it going. We have 3 and 87/100 plus 9 and 6/10 D for diva equals -17 and 35/100. When we solve equations, whether they have decimals or not, we're always trying to get our variable alone. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to start out by taking a look at my 3 and 87/100, and I'm going to think to myself, this is a positive 3 and 87/100. I need to get rid of it. I'm going to use subtraction. 3 and 87/100. 3 and 87/100 minus 3 and 87/100 gives me 0. And so I end up with 9 and 6/10 D. It looks like I'm a little closer to getting that D all by itself. If I do it to one side, though, that subtract 3 and 87/100, I have to do it to the other side of my equation. So now I'm going to go ahead, and one of the things I love about working with decimals is calculators are allowed. So I'm going to go ahead and punch in 17 and 35/100 minus 3 and 87/100. I get negative 21 and 22/100. Now I have a one-step equation. Here we go. I have multiply by 9 and 6/10. I'm going to divide to undo that. And if I do it to one side, I got to do it to the other. 9 and 6/10 divided by 9 and 6/10 gives me 1, and I'm with my diva, D for diva, all by itself. So now I have negative 21 and 22/100 divided by 9 and 6/10. Which equals negative 2.2104166666667. So it looks like I have a repeating decimal, but even without the repeat, it's a rather long decimal. So I'm going to go ahead and round to the nearest hundredth. Rounded to the nearest hundredth, I'm going to get negative 2 and 21/100. So here's the situation. When I rounded like that, it is actually no longer exactly equal to my diva D. Instead, it's approximately negative 2 and 21/100. And because I am a decimal diva, I'm going to check my answer and make sure that I'm right. So I'm going to take my D and I'm going to fill it in my equation. I get 3 and 87/100 plus 9 and 6/10 times my negative 2 and 21/100. And I go ahead and I'm going to do some calculator work. I'd start with my multiplication, 9 and 6/10 times 2 and 21/100. Oops, I missed my 1 on there. Equals negative 21 and 216 thousandths. And then I'm going to add 3 and 87/100. I hit my equals and I get negative 17 and 346 thousandths. However, I'm going to round to the nearest hundredth just like I did before, and I get 17 and 35/100. Now, when you do it, you might not get exactly what your equation is supposed to be equaling, but it should be very, very close. You know, within that rounding, you should be very close. So I end up, it's a match. I have my equation, and you know what any good diva does when she gets a little decimal problem, right? She gives herself a little love. It's a bling. So here we go. Let's do one more. Here we go. I have 5 times 0 and 2/10 D minus 4 and 65/100 equals 28. So I'm going to start by getting that diva D out of the parentheses by using the distributive property. If I do that, I'm going to do 5 times 2/10. Some of you probably can do 5 times 2/10 in your head. And if you can, that's super awesome. But just in case you can't, we're going to punch it in. 5 times 2/10 gives me 1. So I have 1 times D, which is D, 1D, minus. And now I'm going to have to do the same thing. 5 times 4 and 65/100. And I get 23 and 25/100. Equals 28. And now I have a one step. So I have d minus 23 and 25 hundredths equals 28. So I'm going to have to undo my subtraction by using some addition. 23 and 25 hundredths. This is going to give me 0, a negative 23 and 25 hundredths plus 23 and 25 hundredths, which leaves me with my d, my d. And I add 23 and 25 hundredths to the other side, because that's the rule, my friends. And so I go for it, and I go ahead and look at what happens. And I get 23 and 25 hundredths plus 28 gives me, whoa, not okay. Let's try again. 28 plus 23 and 25 hundredths gives me d is 51 and 25 hundredths. That is my solution for my Diva D. Now I have to check it out. So I'm going to fill in 51 and 25 hundredths for d in my equation. So I get 5 times the quantity, 2/10 times 51 and 25 hundredths minus 4 and 65 hundredths. So I do have to follow the order of operations here. So I'm going to do my parentheses first. So to do my parentheses, I'm going to do my multiplication. Ooh, look at all those calculators I have going on. We're going to clear it out. And we're going to do 2/10 times 51 and 25 hundredths. And I'm going to keep going on my parentheses and subtract my 4 and 65 hundredths. That leaves me with 5 and 6/10 times 5. I go back to my calculator one more time, and I get 5 times 5 and 6/10, which equals 28, which is exactly what I wanted it to be. So I'm going to give myself some love, and you should give yourself a little love too when you solve those equations with decimals. Go, get them.